Hey guys.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the VoiceIt Show, episode 42. How have you guys been? It's a pleasure to have you all on the show. Thank you so much. And Anders, yeah, hello. Thank you so much for joining and tuning in, guys. If you are new to the show, then we welcome you and appreciate you tuning in. And you might want to subscribe to the channel if you're new. So if I'm pointing in the right
Yeah,
direction
there's
of the
somewhere.
subscribe button down below. So hit the subscribe button, and you don't want to miss a notification from the Voice It Show. And thank you so much, guys, for your support and love uh, over the year, I should say. And big thanks goes to our patrons. Funky, want to give a shout out real quick?
Oh yes, of course. So thank you to Anders Lindholm, Chris Vickery, Adam Gorak, Laurie Sandoval, and Shelley O'Neill.
Awesome. And Adam has his birthday coming up, so happy birthday, Adam,
Happy
in
birthday.
advance.
Yes.
And without any further ado, well, the Christmas vibe is in the air. We've heard it's already snowing in Milan, Italy.
I mean, it's
And
snowing in
our,
Bosnia, so
whoa, that's great.
yeah.
And today we are joined by a really very special guest and a respected artist. Funky, you want to go ahead and
Of
introduce our
course.
guest?
Yes.
Sure.
It is our honor to have with us today on the Voice Show the legend and our idol, Mr. Billy Sheehan. He's best known for playing bass on dozens of records, of which some hold a platinum and gold status worldwide, touring the world for decades with fellow legends and his original way of playing, singing, and songwriting. And of course, he has given numerous number one hits, has awards too many to list, has performed thousands of sold out shows, and the special connection he has always had with his fans. He started his music career in his hometown of Buffalo in the early 70s with the band Talas. He then joined David Lee Roth in 1985, and from then on, his career took a flight playing with different supergroups like Mr. Big, UFO, Steve Vai, Niacin, the Winery Dogs, and many more.
Right. And with Steve Vai and Greg Bisonette on it as well, the Eat 'em and Smile record and tour went on platinum status and sold out shows everywhere. Later in 1987, he founded his own band, Mr. Big. And 2021 is a special year as Mr. Big celebrates 30th anniversary of Lean Into It album, and David Lee Roth band celebrates 35th anniversary of Eden and Smile. Mr. Sheehan has always been a huge impact on the modern bass playing with the history of live performances and recording with numerous bands. And he's a shining star we all look up to for inspiration. It's a huge honor for me and Funky to invite and to have on our show today Mr. Willie Sheehan. Please welcome. Hello.
Hello.
Greetings and welcome to the Voice It Show, Mr. Sheehan. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you both very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Uh, Thank you for all your kind words.
Thank you so much. And how's it going? And what's happening this time of the year? Christmas?
Well, Christmas is coming up. We're in December. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee.
Right.
I moved here 4 years ago after 32 years in Los Angeles. And
Wow.
it's a wonderful city. It's Music City. It's packed
Yeah.
with
Right.
musicians, music, and songs and bands and playing, and it's quite wonderful. But it's doesn't get too cold here. A little bit cold, a little bit of snow,
Right.
maybe for a couple of
Right.
weeks. Not so much, but it's nice. And
Awesome.
we're enjoying the change of seasons.
Change of seasons. True, true. And after 2020, 21 is also a change of year and a season, I could say. So yeah, that's there as well. And I want to congratulate you first of all on Lean Into It and Eat 'em and Smile. So that's one of the greatest thing that's happening in 2021. And so what do you want to tell about, those two albums and your memories from those days?
Well, they were two amazing adventures with David Lee Roth,
Right,
Steve Vai, Greg Bissonette, and Brett Tuggle. We went on tour with the Eat 'em and Smile band, and that record came
right,
out, and we had just an incredible time, and sold out arenas everywhere. And playing with Dave was amazing. He was very, very kind to us, and a lot of fun to be around. And we're still all good friends. I don't see Dave so much because he's pretty busy, but I see Steve and Greg and Brett, and we stay in close touch a lot. And then
right.
when I left that band, I started Mr. Big. We did one record, which did pretty good, but then the next
Mhm.
record, Lean Into It, it was a big breakout. So we had number one single, uh, two uh,
Right.
two other top 10 singles on it, and we traveled all over the world. It was our passport to the rest of the world because it was an international hit, number one in 14 countries. So
True.
that made us a situation that we became friends with people from almost everywhere. We didn't have email back then yet, but when we started to have email, I still get email today from India, from Bosnia,
Wow.
from Italy, from South Africa, from Brazil, from Thailand, from Indonesia, everywhere around the world. And it's quite wonderful to have that many friends. So
Mr. Worldwide.
Yeah.
we're very, very thankful and very grateful to all the people that listened to our music, that bought a ticket, that came to a show. They really have been an amazing friend to us all in Mr. Big.
Absolutely, absolutely. And on behalf of everyone, I want to thank you guys for putting out such fabulous records.
Yeah.
So yeah, that we have still been enjoying. I mean, I
Great.
wasn't born then, and obviously Funky wasn't, but today when we hear it, we go like, God, it's superb. So yeah,
Well,
it's
I'm
just
glad
uh,
when you make a record, it lasts forever. So I'm glad you guys got a chance to listen and enjoy it. I know there were a lot of records when I was young that were made before I was born too, that I enjoyed very much. So it's a good thing that
right.
they go from generation to generation, and I think
Hmm.
this record will live on for many years thanks to wonderful people like yourselves.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you, thank
you.
you so
I
much.
think
Thank
so
you so
too, because the records you've made, I mean, what can I say? Amazing.
Thank
Well, I'm gonna take you to the very beginning. So tell me, how did your music career start? When did you realize, all right, this is what I want to do when we talk about music?
Well, it's true for millions of other people, but as soon as the Beatles came out, everybody wanted to be in a band. That was the coolest thing in the world. There was a lot of bands before the Beatles.
Hmm.
They were really great too, but when the Beatles exploded, when everyone saw them on an American television show, their first time on television in America, the next day everybody went to a music store to buy guitars, basses, drums, or anything. So it became a huge explosion of bands. Every neighborhood, you could hear two or three bands practicing on Saturdays and
Wow.
on the weekends. And you'd walk on a summer night, you could hear off in the distance another band. Then they would fade away, and there would be another band on another street. You drive down the street, you can see in people's windows, and they had drum sets set up in their house. So it was an amazing time for music. So I wanted to do that. Now,
true.
there were millions, literally, of other people that followed that same course from that same source, and from it we've got, because of the incredible diversity of people and thoughts and creativity and art, we've got so many different kinds of music. People that started out listening to the Beatles later on got into jazz, got into classical. There's me with my old bass. Got into all kinds of music, and it affected people from every part of life and all over the world. I collect music in my iTunes from all over the world, and that
Hmm.
time period, the '60s, I've got '60s music from Ecuador, from the Philippines, from uh, uh,
My God.
from Russia, behind the Iron Curtain, the rock bands playing, the Russian bands from Poland, from Italy, from all over the world. So it wasn't just an American thing or a British thing. It was everywhere. Even some great Indian bands that have playing Beatles from back in the 60s. Pretty amazing. Beatles sung with an Indian accent is quite awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, that's true. Wow, so fascinating. Great.
So that's pretty much how many other people started. And then you would get a instrument and get in a band, learn copy tunes, learn your favorite songs, and then go in a club or a high school dance and play. And more and more and more and more. And then as you grew, you would learn more songs and learn how to perform better and sing and play and deal with an audience and talk to people.
Right.
And then eventually you start to write your own songs, and then you'd maybe do a little record, and that would turn into a little bit more, do your first record. And that's pretty much what the Beatles did too. They started playing as a copy band in Hamburg, Germany. And then eventually they made a record. Even on their first record, most of the songs are copy tunes. Please, Mr. Postman, Twist and Shout, A Taste of Honey. Those were they didn't write those. They became some of the best songwriters in the world because you had that experience of playing other great songs. So my generation has a very similar history. You start copying, and then you begin your own voice, and then you innovate, and then you write, and you hopefully have a career. It wasn't the same for everybody. Not everybody could make it to the top, but those that did took a lot of work, a lot of sacrifice, but it was worth it.
Like yourself. No, but that's how they learn in those days, right? Like if you had to learn something, you would, as we do, we pause something and then we slow it down, and that's how you learn too. If you had to learn a part.
Yes, I'd have to take a record player. Record player had 4 speeds: 16, 33, 45, 78. And at 30, at 45 was a single. 33 was an album. I don't know what they use 16 for, but if you have a record, an album, you could slow it down to half speed, but it'd be very low, so you couldn't tell what the notes were. But we just learn by ear, just listen to the song, write the lyrics down. Sometimes we make a mistake as we couldn't hear what they were saying, and go to a club, play that song. And it was a great training for later on when you're with other musicians and somebody says, hey, play this, and you already by ear, you've learned by ear, so you know right away what to do.
Right.
To learn by reading music is a great thing, but the best is to have both. You can learn by ear and also read music would be the best of both. I only do it by ear, so I'm only halfway there. But
Gosh. I want to ask, you've always emphasized on practicing bass without amp, if I'm right. And do you still practice so?
Yeah, sometimes, because an amp sounds different. When you just play a guitar or a bass and you can hear it, like right now, you can hear it's not plugged in, but when I turn the amp on, it's a different feel and a different way of your ears perceive it. So sometimes when you're playing without an amp, you can hear every click and mistake and every little problem. You really want to get every note to sound solidly. Or with an amp, because it makes everything so much louder, it's kind of easy to play light and play the notes halfway, and they still sound okay. But when you're playing without an amp, the amp can't help you at all. You got to do it all with your hands. So sometimes, but not always, sometimes I do it. And that isn't always a good thing for everybody, but it's something that I've done for myself.
True. And that's what makes you stand out than other players as well. So fair.
I don't know. I think it's my hat that makes me stand out. It's always off it's never in the middle. It's always off to one side. What does it?
Sure, sure. Okay, so well, Y Academy 6.0 is coming up, and it's in the upcoming year, 2022. And I want to ask, is this gonna be your first time for Y Academy, or have you been there before?
I never did Steve's Vi Academy before, but Steve and I are very close friends, and we worked together many times in many situations. So I'm excited
Oh,
to do it. It's going to be really a wonderful experience for everyone. I've done similar things before, and the great thing about it is the people that participate, they hang out with us, and we talk with them and
sure.
show them things and have fun and tell stories. And it's more than just playing; it's understanding how to be around people and get along and be musical, which is a very important thing in a band. We see many bands break up, sadly.
Yeah.
Great band, and they get angry, and it's one of the difficult things is to keep that band together. So, coming to the Vi
Right.
Academy, see the kind of friendships we have. Steve and I have been best buddies since we first met back in the mid '80s.
Yeah.
Many of the other players that are there is very, very dear friends of mine. And so it's a good thing to see that cooperation and friendship amongst musicians is a wonderful thing. So we'll see a lot of that at the Vi Academy. And also, it's going to be, even if you're a beginner player, it's okay.
Right.
Because some people get intimidated now. Oh, these guys are amazing. But yeah, I know, but that's over there. If you are beginning playing, we would love to show you what you need to know at the beginning, which will help you move ahead
Ah,
faster and get it quicker. So I had to learn on my own. I didn't know what I was doing. I had to figure it out. And no, I went no music school, no lessons really, and we just had to figure out. There's notes here. I'm hearing
right.
them on the record, so figure it out. So now there's a way to maybe move things ahead a little faster, and I enjoy working with young musicians and experienced one as well to try and
True.
teach them and help them grow, help them. Maybe a musician is just doing kind of one thing and he's stuck in it. Well, we got a way to break that away and open his ears to a different thing and get us playing more broader spectrum of what he can play. So there's if you're even a beginner player, it's a good thing too, I believe.
Awesome. Indeed. And Y Academy always has a theme. And this year the theme is finding your note. So I want to ask, what would you be advising students on finding your note? And what does finding your note mean to you?
Well, whenever you're in any musical situation, you have some chords, and you got to figure out what am I going to play along with that. Let's say, for example, when "To Be With You," which is on the
Yeah,
Lean Into It 30-year anniversary. Uh,
right.
so when I started it, the chords are basically so I so I did that little 1, 2, 3. It's called a triplet, just to kind of make
Right.
it a kind of a pulse that made it a little bit easier for people to sing along and enjoy. So the bass, that's one of the things that bass as an instrument does. It can really, really change the character of simple chords by moving the bass line around. So that's how I found my note on that. And anyone, you have almost unlimited choices, even though there are only really 12 notes in the
True.
Western music scale. There's more in the Indian scale, I know that. But there's really an unlimited combination of notes and chords and harmonies. So finding your note can seem overwhelming and difficult. But once you begin to listen, step back, understand what you're hearing, there is a way to figure out what the ideal note will be. It's from learning so many songs through the years I've played, it's almost automatic for me to know where to go. And usually it works. Sometimes somebody says, "Oh, no, try something different." Okay, I got another 100 things I can try here. So, but so on the that as the theme, finding your note is an interesting theme, because I think some people think that you must already know the note, or somebody must tell you the note, but you do have your own heart and soul and creativity in you as a musician. And working with another musician, working within a band, this can be a great, great thing. Does it make sense?
True.
It does.
Very much so.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I'm gonna take you. There's an echo. Can you hear it?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna take you to the beginning again. So tell me, how did your first ever live performance go? Like, what did you feel standing on a stage for the first time?
Well, I wasn't really nervous because my mind was on everything I had to do. I had my bass and the amp and remembering the songs and which song are we going to do first? Oh, we better write them down on a piece of paper, make a song list. We didn't even know that you needed a song list. So, okay, we'll do that. So I was so concentrating and doing everything right, I didn't even think about being nervous or worrying about people watching. So there's so much more you have to deal with. So after the show, I realized, oh, I just played in front of people, and I was communicating with them. I see them, hey Bob, hey Joe, how you doing? And playing. But because I had so much to do, and I'm glad I didn't have time to be nervous. So from the very early days, we played constantly. We did one time we did 21 nights in a row.
Wow.
One time we did three complete shows in one day, morning, afternoon, and evening. And so we played so much. That it's priceless, the amount of experience you get when you get up on deck, on stage, and start to perform in front of people. But I remember from the beginning, I really wasn't that nervous because I knew what I was doing. I practiced the songs, and I knew I could play them. And in rehearsal, they sounded good, and they were right, so I wasn't worried about that. But just to make sure I keep everything the way it's supposed to be, keep my bass in tune, keep my amp on, and all those little things that can almost help me to stop thinking about it. Otherwise, I might have been nervous. I don't know. But now I feel from being on stage so much, sometimes it's said that public speaking is one of the things people are most afraid of. You know, we have a crowd of people, hey, get up and say a few words. People get afraid of that.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it's so natural. Even funny that this last year, a friend of mine got married, and he asked me to do the ceremony. So I had to go up in front of everybody and write a ceremony for their wedding and perform the legal ceremony for them. So I was a little nervous about that, but that was my first time. But if I didn't have my experience from performing in a band, I don't think I could have done it. But it's a great thing to perform for people, touch them, have them respond. And some of the greatest moments of my life, I've been on stage with an incredible audience, sometimes very small, sometimes huge, doesn't matter. Sometimes playing in front of a smaller amount of people is more intimidating than a big one, because a huge crowd, you really can't see any one person. It's just a giant mass of people. And so you're up on stage looking at each other in the band and having fun. Where sometimes there's a little club in LA called the Baked Potato, and all the jazz greats play there. And when I play, the stage is so small, I put my drink on the customer's table, because their table is right next to me. Say, is it okay if I put my beer on your table? Oh, thanks a lot. And we play. And they were this far from me watching. So any mistake, they were going to see it. So it was a little more intimidating than a big crowd.
God.
Yeah.
That's fun. That's fun.
I have to agree with
Favorite
you.
beer?
Hey, that's my favorite beer. How did you know that?
So before we continue, I have to mention that there's still an echo, so I'm not sure.
I can't hear you, my dear. I hope it's not coming from me.
Not
I'm
at
not
all.
sure. Okay, it's okay now. So I have to say that I agree with you when it comes to, that public speaking is way worse than playing in front of or singing or whatever in front of people. Um, but I'm still nervous about so many things. I'm starting with my own gigs in July, and I'm already nervous about it. And even this episode, I was feeling extremely nervous before it. So, you know,
Because
Don't be
Mr.
nervous. You'll
Sheehan.
be fine. And being nervous isn't necessarily a bad thing. You get a little.
yeah,
I'm more anxious and excited out there. Like when we're backstage and they're ready to turn the lights off and go on stage, I want to go. Let's go now. Let's go now. Come on, let's
yeah,
go. Let's go. It's. But you'll do fine. And if you make a mistake or drop your instrument or trip and fall or forget the words, that's fine. You won't die from it. It's fun. You'll laugh about it later. I've had many times where some horrible things happen on stage, and
True.
we laughed about it all the time. It's an incredible adventure, and you're going to love it. Get up and play
yeah.
some gigs. It's going to be fine. You're going to do great. And
Well, yeah. I can't
oh,
wait to do it, but yeah, we
great.
will see how it's gonna go.
You'll be fine. And you'll make mistakes. I'm still making mistakes in the middle of a song. We have techniques, though. If you make a mistake, play it again. Play the same mistake again. And then people think, oh, well, that must be part of the song. And I fooled people many, many times by playing that same mistake twice. And then after the second time, it actually sounds right. It's like, yeah, it sounds good. So that's one trick that you can do. And most people don't hear your mistakes or errors. They don't hear them. I've gone up
True.
on stage and sung the wrong words, started in the wrong key, and after the show, I go, "How was the show?" And I thought they're going to say, "You forgot the words, didn't you?"
Yeah.
They go,
True.
"Great. Oh, you didn't notice anything wrong, did you?" No, not at all. So they don't know. But always do your best, of course. Do your best, because I love to have everything be righteous and right and correct. But it happens to everybody. Every musician I know, except for maybe one or two, I've seen them make big mistakes, and it's just funny.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the advice.
You'll be
And
fine.
I'm so glad, Funky, you asked that and you said that out because we just got so many great tips,
Yeah.
literally.
Well, I've been playing for about 55 years, so I've
Oh
done
yeah,
over 5,000 gigs. So
yeah.
almost everything you can imagine has happened to me on stage. On
Oh
stage.
yeah.
So it's and I'm still here, so you'll be fine.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
But when
For-
when
yeah.
you're talking about that, tell us what is your favorite onstage moment?
There were too many to list, but there were a couple that were very emotional. We played in Japan after the earthquake in, I believe it was in the 90s.
Mhm.
And we played at a club that had been destroyed, but they rebuilt it so quickly. And we didn't know what the tradition was in Japan for a moment of silence. We have that in America. Many places have it. Well, you never know. In a different country, they may have a different tradition. So we asked people backstage, is it okay if we do a moment of silence for the people that we lost, the people that were killed in the quake? They said, oh, yeah, absolutely. So me being the Mr. Big spokesman, I got on the mic and said, well, we just want to take this moment and have a moment of silence for all of your friends, family, and fellow countrymen who may have lost their lives in the quake. And we did, and it was, you could hear a pin drop. It was absolutely silent, and it was very, very touching. We ended that, and I looked at Eric, and he looked at me, and we had to work to not have tears in our eyes. It was an amazing moment for us. So, but there are many, many moments more joyous, of course, than the seriousness of that. We played in Brazil our first time, and we didn't know, but in Brazil, they were using Mr. Big songs on a daytime soap opera television, but we didn't know. So we went to the show thinking, well, maybe it'll be a couple thousand people there. So we're out on a beach, Santos Beach, outside of Sao Paulo, Brazil. And suddenly the crowds are, look, there's a lot of people. We're playing with Mr. Big, the Lemonheads, and Henry Rollins. And I think a Brazilian band called Dr. Sin. So the first band goes up, it's a lot of people. Next band, there's a lot of people. I went up and looked again, holy cow. So then by the time the band before us went on stage, I came back and said, you guys, there's a lot of people here. I mean, a real lot of people. We went on stage, there was 100,000 people on the beach.
My God.
And it was unbelievable. And it just inspired us so much. I know I hurt myself several times while I was playing, but I didn't feel any pain.
Yeah, I bet.
Many times my fingers will be getting sticky. And I wonder, what's going on? I look down and it's blood. But you don't feel the injury. You're on such an amazing state of mind. So the crowd was so huge that at the end, they had, of course, police in front of the stage to protect everything. At the end, the police left. They just went away. They don't want to be there anymore. They knew it was going to be dangerous.
Whoa.
We're on stage with nobody and 100,000 people, and there's bonfires and people are screaming. It's going crazy. So off in the distance, I could see lights, and the army showed up. They sent the military in to clear the beach off.
Oh my God!
It was such a big show. So, there's 1,000 incidents like that. It's pretty amazing.
Wow!
My God.
Yeah.
I just got goosebumps.
To this day, every time I go to Brazil,
really amazing.
I was at Santos Beach. I remember.
Awesome. It's really amazing. I want to ask you that you and Steve, first of all, I need to admit that Steve, you and Steve I especially is my God, and I am a worshiper of Mr. Steve Vai, and I just cannot keep quiet, and I have to admit that. So, you and Steve Vai have such a thunderous and amazing stage presence, and I want to talk. I want to know, what do you guys talk? Just before getting up on stage. What are those final thoughts in your head before getting on stage?
Well, we don't do any planning.
Conversation?
There's no planning really. We just, nothing about the show or about anything like that. We learned early on that there's a line between improvisation and the script. So it's good to have a script for what you're going to do and what's going to happen, but also leave openings in it for anything to happen. So it keeps it fresh and spontaneous. We know what songs we're going to do. We know what order they're in. We know how the songs go. It's kind of important sometimes with the sound and lights to know what song is next so they can get ready. You got to follow the list. Not always, but generally. And but generally, we just go up and enjoy each other, and it's true with almost every other band I'm in. We have a format, a script, but there's also, it's open-ended, we would say. So you can add or subtract at any given time, and let things be spontaneous and real and alive. And sometimes you think of something in the moment to do, play, to do back and forth, to say, and that gives us that opportunity. But yeah, right there. We first couple times we did that, it just happened. We didn't plan it. We just, Steve reached over. I reached back, grabbed his guitar. Next thing you know, I'm playing guitar. He's playing bass, and it was just for fun.
Wow.
Yeah, it's fun to watch as well. It's also a wonderment for me. Like, how do you guys do that? Like, that's pretty cool.
We both have really long arms, so we can reach out. Reach out there.
Gosh, yeah, truly. Awesome. Okay, so a special thing is that, for musicians out there, if you want to start your year with a bang, you have something coming up, and a master class with Mr. Sheehan on in the month of January, right?
Yes.
So you want to talk about the master class, please, Mr. Sheehan, and let our audience know about it.
Well, it's very limited. There's only one-on-one, so we do 3 people in a day,
Hmm.
3 different
Hmm.
times. Uh, and it's a chance for someone to sit down. Like when we're speaking on us 3 together directly, it's easy for us to communicate. When you're in a group
True.
of people, sometimes people get a little shy. They don't know what question
Yeah.
to ask, or if they didn't hear the answer. So one-on-one, you can really hear the person you're whose class you're attending. But also, for me, I can see up close what these guys are playing, and
Right.
notice where their hands are and where their fingers are. And the guy will sit down and say, okay, just play a little something. And he goes, I'm nervous. Don't worry. It's okay. We're fine. Just play a little of like what you do. And I'll say, okay, that's great. Now try this. And I'll try to coach him into a way of doing what he's doing better, easier, uh, having more variations, understanding the right hand, the left hand, what notes to play, when, where, and how, songwriting, lyric writing, performance on stage,
Right.
gear, equipment, all these factors we talk about. And so it's a chance for us to, and everyone is different. Some guys come in and they're pretty good players. They don't really need to know
True.
anything other than maybe just a suggestion about what they might do stylistically. So, like one
Right.
guy, and he was a pretty young guy, a great player, and I go, really great. What I suggest for you to do is to start to branch out and listen to other things. Listen to some
Hmm.
classical music. Listen to maybe some jazz. Some people love it. Some people don't. Uh, maybe and some music from around the world. I'm a big fan of a lot of Indian music, of Bulgarian choir music, of Indonesian gamelan music, some Chinese and some Oriental, Japanese, Chinese, Korean, things of
True.
that nature. And when you hear that, it's completely different from what you
Oh yeah.
know as a musician. But when you go back to playing your thing, you get couple extra things that you didn't have before.
Right.
It's like your vocabulary. We speak with words. You go learn a few new words, you've got a new way to describe something. It would be the same thing, but
True.
you got a new way to explain it and describe it.
True.
Similarly, as a musician, so one-on-one is really great. It's not cheap. I mean, it costs. We have to charge. It's an hour and a half of my time, and I'm a busy guy, but I make it as cheap as I
True.
possibly can. We have a videographer who videotapes the whole thing, so you can take the video home, takes photos,
Yeah.
and we hang out too. And I sign a bunch of 8x10s and give some things away and stuff like that. But it's a really enjoyable thing. But it's only here in Nashville right now. So if you're in Nashville, check out my website, and maybe if I'm not on tour, see, because of the whole pandemic, I haven't been able to perform for
True.
almost 2 years now. So it's something for me to do to interact with other musicians because I can't play.
Right.
So hopefully we play next year. But yeah, it's an enjoyable thing, the master class, and I'd love to do them I do clinics in other areas for groups of people. But maybe in the future we can go in, do 2 days. One day of just one-on-one, the next day with everyone. Maybe do that.
Exactly. Yeah. That could be one thing.
Cool.
Awesome. And would you like to tell us about this little guy here?
He's I don't know where the sun is out, so he's up laying in the sun. He loves the sun. He's a big. He weighs 16 pounds now. He's a big boy.
Yeah.
Rebel.
He's a sweetest guy. We had another cat named Spooky. That's her.
Uh-huh.
On my basis.
Aw.
Uh-oh,
Like-
yeah.
And
Yeah.
Thanksgiving 2 years ago, she passed away. We had to take her and take her to the
Oh, no.
vet. She was
Mhm.
she was an old girl.
Okay.
She's 21 years old.
Wow.
old, very old for a cat, and
Mm-hmm.
so we had no cat, and I had to go do a trip to New York City to record. So my wife, for the first time, was home alone, first time ever, and since we met, and I came home. She goes, she said to me, "Could we go look at another cat?" And I knew it was we wouldn't just look.
Yeah.
I knew. So we went to this one orphanage, and they had some cages with kitty cats. We want to get another black cat because black cats get abused sometimes. So I want to always rescue a black cat because they have a tough time sometimes. So down in the lower cage were two little kitties, and one reached up and put his paw on my face. We have a winner. That's right. So, you're coming home with us. And he has been an absolute joy. And we were so brokenhearted when we lost Spooky. We were devastated. And so this little guy came and fixed our broken hearts. So a lot of people out there have cats and dogs, and sadly we lose them. You know, they don't live the same length as humans. So you know, give it a little time. But remember, there's another animal out there that needs you. If you got a home that can accommodate a dog or a cat, and you lose one, remember there's another one in an orphanage somewhere that would love to have a new home, and it'll bring a lot of joy. So that's our rebel. That's his story.
It's a beautiful story. Well, I actually I had a cat this year as well, and she sadly passed away in June, I think. But then in September, we adopted a dog. So, yeah, you're very right about what you said.
Yeah, we always will keep Spooky's photos are up around the house. We always think of her, and she'll always live on in our hearts. But we got a new little boy here, and this is my fourth black cat I've had in my life, and maybe 3 or 4 other cats too. And half a dozen dogs or more I grew up with, so it happens. But you learn to enjoy the wonderful time you had with them, and now take care of another animal if you can.
Of course.
True.
Great.
And you've been experimenting with your cooking as well?
Oh yeah, I do I do a lot of cooking. My wife is Italian, so she has her specialties, but I have mine. And but I've since I was very young. When I was young, I spent a lot of time alone. So if I wanted to eat, I had to cook it. So I learned how to cook. So I do great chops. I do great Indian food. I do an amazing vindaloo. I have all kinds of other things that I do, and I improvise. Sometimes a few things in the refrigerator. What are we going to eat? I go, let me try this. It works. So it's I learned from my mom. She was a improvisational cook too, because we were young. We didn't have much money. She had to figure out ways to feed 4 kids and get creative as a chef. So I learned from her. So that's the way we do it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And what's your favorite dish or favorite cuisine to make and to eat as well?
I've generally been a fan of very spicy food. So Thai, Indian, Mexican, very enjoy. But when I met my wife, we spent a lot of time in Italy, and Italy has a more subtle flavors, where spicy foods are, like getting punched in the face. They're hot, and I love that. But then I learned the nuance, little hints of flavor, and just the Italian way of getting something to taste incredibly, but not overwhelming. So I learned a lot about that from the Italians. They're really good at that. You'll see almost every country has Italian restaurants, so Italian food is a favorite all over the world. So generally, I like almost everything, except I don't eat things that I played with as a kid. So frog, turtle, snake.
I mean, who likes that? Um,
True.
wow. So we have questions from people as well.
People.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Uh,
we're gonna take people's
mhm.
questions.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Here's
Funky,
one.
go ahead.
Go
Okay.
right ahead.
Okay. Justice. Okay. So our friend Raymond Hayden, who has also been a special guest on our show, he wants to know who is your favorite drummer to play with.
Dennis Chambers. That was a fast
Yeah.
answer,
Ah.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Dennis Chambers. Dennis Chambers is a guy I play with in NISM. He's
Mhm.
just a grand master and the sweetest guy in the world, and he will blow your mind. He's amazing. A lot of great. I'm lucky to play with a lot of great drummers, with Vinny Caliuta, with Pat Torpey. God rest his soul, was one of the best drummers I ever worked with ever. We love him.
Right.
We miss him very much.
True. True.
Mike Portnoy, incredible. Ray Lugier, amazing. Mark Miller, the drummer from Talas. New Talas
Yeah.
album coming soon. We
Oh.
have
Oh yeah.
the new Talas record. So many great drummers.
Cool.
Awesome.
Awesome.
And since we're talking about drummers, before we move on to the next
Uh,
question,
okay,
um,
go ahead.
I want to show you
Take over.
a screenshot of one drummer who has been on our show and who you might
Ah,
know. So,
ah,
Jeremy
good.
Colson.
Jeremy, all right. Oh, he's great. I love Jeremy.
And aside from Jeremy, we also had two other guests, now three, including you, who are associated with Steve Vai. So there's Alex Depew and
Very good.
Stu Ham, of course.
Stu
Yeah.
Ham, dear
Yeah.
friend of mine also. He's a dear friend. Great player. Wonderful man. Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. And then next question.
Right, favorite band when I was a teenager? Is that
Yeah.
what it says?
Yes.
Oh well, it's hard to say. I had a lot of favorites. Uh, the most influential band called the Vanilla Fudge from the '60s. That was a big influence on me.
Hmm.
Hendrix. That's the first concert I ever saw was Jimi Hendrix. Amazing. I saw him live in person. A huge
Wow.
influence on me. Grand Funk Railroad, Chicago, Three Dog Night, the Beatles, of course, the Stones, of course, Robin Trower. The list goes on and on and on and on. A lot of bands. It's hard to pick a favorite. Then later on, I got into AC/DC, Van Halen. I love both those bands very much. And Judas Priest and Iron Maiden and
Mhm.
Accept and a lot of heavier bands.
Yeah.
A lot of jazz bands too. A lot of jazz musicians, a lot of classical music. So it's hard for me to pick just one. There were many.
Yeah, amazing bands though. I have to say I'm also a
Absolutely.
huge fan of Grand Funk Railroad. So yeah,
Great.
they're
Yeah,
amazing.
I'm glad you know them because we were when we first started playing in the clubs, we played about 10 Grand Funk Railroad songs.
No
We
way.
big on our set list, our copy tunes. We knew them all. And
Yeah.
great bass player Mel Shacker was his name, and I
Mhm.
got to play with the lead singer, whose name escapes me now. I'm so sorry. Guitar player for Grand Funk Railroad. Oh man. Anyway, I'll think of it. But I got to jam with him at one time.
Mhm.
He's a great guy, an amazing singer and guitar player.
Oh, that's amazing.
Cool.
Next question, Kanak.
Yes.
Okay. Is it from? Okay. So, okay, this is Joseph Dragora Photography. He asks, when was the last time new music or an artist took you off guard? A whoa moment for you. Who?
There's a guy, I'm trying to remember his name. I think I'll try and see if he's up on my Instagram because he was just an amazing drummer. And
Uh-huh.
he's, where would he be now? I wish I had his info. I'm sorry. I don't want to waste your time. I look for it.
Oh, that's okay.
Just this guy
It's okay. It's okay.
who just plays on a snare drum. It's just a snare drum alone. And
Uh-huh.
he's amazing. Just he's incredible. I follow him on Instagram. I'm looking for him now. There's another girl
Gosh, wow.
that I liked a lot.
Ah,
That's,
cool.
that's, that's Hillary Klug. She's a Nashville girl, and she plays a
Uh-huh.
violin and dances while she plays. And I'm not a country and western guy, but it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
Awesome.
anyway, think of another question while I look for this guy because he's going to blow your mind.
Sure. Funky, go ahead.
So Alan, I hope I'm reading this right. Okay, Alan
Okay.
Moritiba, he's asking, how was your progress at the beginning? What drew you? Thanks.
Good question. I know. I imagine it was slow, but I was relentless and I kept going. I kept learning songs. And once in a while, I hear a piece of music and I think, I'll never do it. I remember the first time I heard obscure to maybe some of your listeners, the Mahavishnu Orchestra with John McLaughlin on guitar. And they did
Mm-hmm.
the possible stuff. And I heard it and I thought, I don't know if I'll ever be able to play that. And the next day I said, let me sit down and slow down my record player and figure it. And I got it. I started figuring it out. So you determine your progress by how much time you want to dedicate to it. We talked earlier about my masterclass. It's good sometimes to sit down with another musician and have them give you some guidance as to what you should be trying to learn and how you should do it. If you can find a musician locally or near you and get some advice from them, not necessarily lessons. I'm not a teacher. I don't give lessons, but I can move you in a good direction, I feel. So learning songs. I did that so much in the beginning. The first thing I did was learn songs. I didn't learn riffs or scales or anything like that. I didn't even know that for years later. I learned songs. So my advice I give young players write to me and say, what's your advice for me as a musician? And I say, here's the advice, and run the numbers. This is the best advice I believe that there is. Get in a band. Get in a band that has songs. Get in a band that has songs that you sing.
Wow.
That's the
There you
thing.
go.
Geddy Lee got in a band. Songs that you sing. Phil Lynott, songs you can sing. Sting was in a band. Songs you can sing. Motorhead, Lemmy was in a band, played songs you could sing. Jocko was in a band, played songs that you didn't sing, but his first solo record, he did bad songs that you could sing on it. Everybody that really got anywhere got into a band and played in a band and playing in a band. And I see a lot of guys on YouTube that are unbelievable, but they're not in a band.
True.
There's no record.
Yeah.
There's no live show.
True.
So I really recommend for people to get in the band, and that will give you some great progress. Because as Funky Cold Medina will tell you,
Medina, yeah.
I'm kidding. She's getting ready for a show, and the pressure's on. You got to know your songs. You got to have it together. You got to be in tune in time. You got to get up there and do it. Those are all things that are so essential to becoming a proper, righteous musician. Sitting around in your bedroom alone, that's cool. That's what you want to do, but that's the only place you're going to go. You got to get out of that bedroom, get on the stage, and you do that by getting in a band. And if you play songs, people like songs. You up there doing this all night, it might be cool for 5 minutes, but then they're going to
True.
Now, if they're playing songs that they can sing, they're going to sing along. When Mr. Big plays 10, 20, 40, 50, 80,000 people roar and smile and are singing and some with tears in their eyes. Do that.
True.
Do songs that touch people. And that I hope I can instill that into some younger players as the real goal. Great. If you can play stuff, and there's players that doing things I don't know if I could ever do. Amazing play. But where's it going? What are you going to do with it? It's like having the fastest car ever, but no racetrack. It's just that's great. You got a fast car. Do you ever take it out? No, I can't. There's no racetrack.
Wow.
Similar thing. So I hope that helps this Alan, I think his name is. Progress, because you can always make progress. Just hit it hard.
Wow, and that's some advice that makes you really think. And I have to mention that, these gigs that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna sing in them with a guitarist or whoever. But I'm also learning to play bass. I have a bass.
All right.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
when I first bought it, I actually was in a band. So I started with a band.
Great. So
It
you're in good
worked
shape.
really well. It worked really well for maybe 3 4 months, but then we broke out, and nothing happened after, and now I'm just in my room playing some songs, and that's it. So yeah, I see your point there, definitely.
Great. Great. Well, I wish you the best with it.
Thank you so much.
Well, all right. So it's about an hour. I apologize, but I have what I'm doing in my home studio here is recording every
Yeah.
day. I've got 5 songs on the list today, and my engineer is about to walk in the door. So
absolutely.
unfortunately, I'll have to cut this a little short, but we can do it again anytime if that's okay.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely, absolutely. We are gonna let you go right now. And well, thank you so much, first of all. So
My
for
pleasure.
staying with us, and hopefully we'll have you back again for a part two on the Voice It show. And
All right.
it's been a pure pleasure. So thanks a lot so much. And
Thank
before you
you.
go, we want to share your socials with our people and audience watching. So please go and check out Mr. Sheehan on Facebook. It's Billy Sheehan on Twitter, Billy on Bass on Instagram, Billy Sheehan on Bass. And obviously, you can visit his website, billysheehan.com. And there you go. So
Great.
it's
Well,
been a
thank you both. It's been a joy, and I'd like to wish great gigs for Funky. Do
Thank
good.
you.
Have a wonderful time on stage. And to all the people watching, you're welcome to write to me on Facebook or Instagram or through my website or Twitter. I read everything. I sometimes I can only have time to respond with a thumb up or a heart, but I read it all
he
and I
does.
try to respond. So you know.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful time. And thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And see you next time. This is me,
See you.
All right. Thank you.
Sheehan. Thank you. And ciao for now.